What is up guys, Arolf here back again with another video, and today we'll be taking a look at the Disney Store exclusive Marvel Select the Falcon and the Winter Soldier Captain America. So let's get into it. So taking a look around this big bubble box, you got nothing on the top, just a bubble box, Captain America on the side, you get a picture of the figure on the back, you get a different picture with the wings, UPC, don't scan it, and without further ado, let's get into it. Good old-fashioned twist ties. So now taking a closer look at Captain America here, starting off with the head sculpt. I mean, really great likeness to Anthony Mackie here, even though Diamond Select or Marvel Select is usually known for some softer paint details. There are some nice texturing details and a nice gradient to the skin tone here. It kind of gets lighter in the middle and it gets darker when going out. You can see there's some texturing details in the hair, very light texturing details. One thing I gotta say about Marvel Select is that they nail their details and their sculpt. I mean, the proportions look amazing for Marvel Selects. Something about Hasbro makes it unique, makes it their own, but proportion wise I really do prefer the Marvel Select. One drawback is obviously the articulation, even though that you usually get some good decent articulation with some Marvel Selects. I feel like it is lacking with this one. But looking at the details itself, you can see the backpack there has a separate piece, which we'll get into that later on. It's for the wings. But looking at the texturing details, a lot of silver bits here, a lot of added extra details as opposed to the Marvel Legends, which I'll compare both in a bit in the comparison part of the video. But looking at it, there are a lot of texturing details here in the blue. The paint is painted cleanly. The white is very white, unlike the Marvel Legends, which is kind of has a more yellowish tint. But I do like the sculpt on the Marvel Select here. You can see they painted the knee pads, which are a separate piece. So when you're bending the knee, it does look kind of weird in some angles, but you can see it's made out of soft rubber plastic. Get some nice details in the boots, got some nice silver paint and kind of this glossy red, and you get some details in the calf thrusters here, and you can see the black boots here. You got some nice silver bits with some red detailings, which is also nice. And you can see you get the peg holes at the bottom of his feet. Now for Captain America's accessories, you get red wing here, you get some nice paint details. It's a little bit too bright. I wish they used the darker silver, but just comparing it to the Marvel Legends one, you could see pretty similar sculpts, but they're unique in their own ways. Next up, he comes with a pair of gun holding hands or shield holding hands, and you can see it's nicely painted and the usual articulation with this one, rotation and hinge up and down for both hands. And he also comes with a pair of open hands right here, so you could do some shield throwing poses or some holding poses, whatever you want, but you could see the usual articulation as well with that rotation and hinge. Next up, he comes with a shield, which is in a matte paint color here. You can see there are some nice weathering details in the straps. The buckles are painted cleanly, and comparing it to the Legends one, I do prefer the color scheme, but I also do like the glossiness and the details of the Hasbro Marvel Legends one. And the sizes do seem right. The Marvel Select is a little bit bigger, and just quickly comparing the Civil War Marvel Select shield, you can see the details are updated and more movie accurate and show accurate. And lastly, for his accessories, you get the wings here, but before we do that, let's detach the backpack here and remove this little piece back here, which is intuitively designed. I like how they designed this when attaching the wings, so it's just one whole piece. And you can see the two holes here, line it up with the two holes on the wings, pop them both in, and there you go. And even though these wings do not have articulation, they still look great on the figure. You get some nice basic paint details, not a lot of finer details as the Marvel Legends one, but the paint details are nice and sharp, and just comparing it, they're about the same size next to the Marvel Legends one, but the Legends has a little bit more detail. And just doing some wing swaps here, you can't really peg it on since the pegs are very different, but just looking at it just to give you an idea. And a couple of things to mention about the wings here. You can rotate it side to side. You can see it's very loose. I don't know if I worn out the peg hole here, but you can move it side to side. You can push it in a little bit further, so it does tend to stay in place. But if you hit it on accident, you could make it loosen up and potentially fall off, which has happened during this figure review. But one thing to mention about the articulation, when moving the torso back, it does kind of hinder it just a little bit. It does hit the little gluteus maximus back here. So now taking a look at Captain America's articulation here, starting off with the head. The head is on a double ball peg, which is pretty much standard for most Diamond Select figures. He can look up that far, which is disappointing. He can also look down, which is also disappointing. He also has a little bit of head wobble here, just give a little sass and a little forward and back. The arms do rotate all the way around. They bend outward that far, almost at 90 degrees, inward that much. Also has a bicep swivel, single jointed elbow, which you can bend just a little over 90 degrees if you push it even further. Wrist rotate and they're on hinges, they move up and down. Same thing right here on the other side, all the way around, up and down. Now the torso here has a ball joint, so you can bend it forward that far and back that much, which is pretty much standard range for Diamond Select figures with ball peg torsos. He also has a waist swivel, which rotates all the way around. His legs can kick forward that far, so he could sit down like so. They could also kick back just a little bit. He also has a thigh swivel right here, mid-thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and the feet here are on hinges and they do rotate, so they bend down right there, which is, it's okay. They can bend up, which is also okay. They could also rotate side to side, and he also has an ankle pivot. Legs move outward that far, almost can do the splits, but we're not going to do that with the ankle pivot test. But right there, he is good to go. So now doing some size comparisons, here's Captain America next to Captain America Infinity War, Captain America Civil War, Iron Man Endgame, and Spider-Man Homecoming. Also a couple of big figs like Thanos from Endgame and Hulk from Endgame. Also more Captain America and Bucky figures. Wow. Okay, now comparing the Select to the Legends, as you can see the Select is larger. Usually Selects are 7 inches and Hasbro Marvel Legends are 6 inches, and you can see the size differences here, and the sculpts are very drastically different. They have their own take to it. One has form over function and one has function over form. And what I mean by that is that the Select has some nice proportions and also has some nice details, but the articulation is whack. That's why the Hasbro one has the nice articulation. Don't get me wrong, it has some nice proportions as well, but it has their own style to it, but I just prefer the Select a little bit better. And just finishing off looking at the details here, it has similar sculpt, it's just that the Hasbro one is a little bit more detailed, but the texturing wise I give that to Select because it has a little more sharper details. But if you look close at the Legends one, it does have finer details. But just looking at it, I prefer the paint on the Select one because they use that nice bright white other than the yellowish white that they use for the Legends. And you can see the boots here. I do prefer the boots of the Select one because they are a little bit more show accurate. And overall, I just like them both equally in their own ways. And one last thing to point out, there are some extra blue details on the Legends one. I don't think it's show accurate. I just referenced it with the Hot Toys one, but you could see Hasbro just adds these little details that we don't usually see. So overall, I think this is a good figure. There's a lot of good figures that I talk about, but I truly do think this is a good figure. I mean, the sculpt is amazing. I do like the proportions as opposed to the Legends one. The only thing that Marvel Select needs to fix is their articulation. from being a good figure to being a legendary figure or an awesome figure. I mean, Hasbro Marvel Legends does nail the articulation and the sculpting, but I feel like the proportions could be a little bit better, like the Marvel Select. So if Marvel Select just fixes their articulation, I would enjoy it a little more. There are some problems that I had with this figure, like the loose legs and the feet, which made it hard to do some wide stance or some dynamic poses because he does tend to topple over with the loose legs and hinges in the feet. So with that, you have to be a little bit patient with this figure, in addition to the wings, which makes it a little bit back heavy. So other than that, he's a good figure. If you can pick him up, he's available now at Shop Disney or the Disney store. You can pick him up. Pretty expensive for these guys, $30. So I wish for that price they gave him double jointed elbows. But other than that, I like the sculpt, the proportions, I like the paint job, just the articulation is a big thumbs down for me. But other than that, that is it, guys. Hope you guys like it. Arolf Mora. Signing out. Peace.